But the son has, mom and brother still live in the house. Oh, okay. You see. Sure. Call the meeting to order. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Agenda approved. We'll move on to the third item of business. It's a consent calendar, which is the minutes of the previous meeting and the payment of bills.
So second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approved. Move on to item number 4, a presentation of the Prairie View neighborhood concept, Mary and Mike Ives.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the Staples City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you today about our redevelopment project here in Staples. My name, I'm assuming we give you an address. That's how I've always done it at Staples meetings before. So my name is Mary Ives. I live in Grand Rapids, but along with my family, we own and operate the Timber Lake Hotel and Timbers Restaurant, and that's located at 1220 4th Avenue Southeast in Staples. Our family has been in the mobile home business since 1965. And so with me today, I brought my team, as Mike Ives, my husband. Could you wave so he knows? Okay. Michelle Ives Carlson, who's my daughter, and Chris Ives, my daughter-in-law. And I also have Jordan Goodwater with me, who is the manager of our property here in Staples. Michelle is a broker, and she works with us in our real estate office and handles all the sales of our manufactured homes. Everyone in our family, we disclose, have real estate licenses. And we have approximately 1,200 families that live in the 6 communities that we manage within the state of Minnesota. The project that we're bringing before you today is the redevelopment of several old mobile home communities. And I do have an overhead view of what was there. You're ahead of me. You should tell me. I'll follow you. Okay, so you can see how the homes were located. The property is approximately 9 acres with the new road going up to the airport cutting through one of our parcels. They had many abandoned and not safe for habitation homes on this property. And it very hurt me to the core since I've been working in the industry for so long and know that there are so many better ways to present the form of housing that manufactured homes can do. So I have brought one picture of the old homes. I have more, but I just want to share one to show you. Most of the windows were broken out. The doors were boarded up. Some of the roofs were open. Definitely the floors had a lot of animals that were able to get into the home. And they were truly not a nice neighbor for the other people living in your community. We emptied the land. We moved all of these homes off of the land. We're still working on one, but it made such a difference. I could hardly recognize it after they were moved. It's really a very nice piece of property. It has nice trees and many bushes that we'll try to save in the process. We're working to redesign this community into Prairie View neighborhood for double-section homes with garages and landscaped yards. And I got a sample of what we call a mobile home community with homes and landscaping and garages. So we just give you that sample. We will upgrade the existing roads to be used by our residents to access their homes. We'll put up a welcome entrance sign and install a well-lit, weather-protected mailbox center. But as you can see first on the sign, we like to have it more of a neighborhood sign, not a big commercial sign, and we always seek flower gardens around it. It's important by law that we have signage to tell people where they can contact the owners and where they can get help if they need it. So we always meet that requirement in all of our communities. You have right now in this particular area several mailboxes, but it's always nicer if it can be in an area where it can be lit and you don't have to worry about rain or whatever when you're receiving your mail. So the ownership information is that this will be a land lease development, which means that the resident will own their own new home and garage, but pay rent on their home site. We have found that when people own their home, they have a lot of pride and maintain their home well. We take care of the land and we take care of maintenance of the roads and public areas, and it is a very nice partnership. We recently hired someone to check on the existing city water and sewer lines, and we had another local person who started to remove some of the dead and damaged trees, and there will need to be some adjustments to the electrical lines and meters. We visited a Minnesota manufacturer in Redwood Falls, Minnesota, that produce homes that come in many different sizes and shapes and price ranges, but they're building a good home, a home that can withstand the weather in our state, and they follow all the codes. We purchased 3 homes as our startup model homes, and each one of the homes that we chose, because we're thinking that this is probably going to be more of a family development, has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and very nice family space within the home. There's also, as you can see, this type of housing comes in 2 sections. And when we put it together, it will certainly look like a beautiful Rambler home. We're working with First International Bank for a line of credit, and we also have been promised that they would consider families in our area for loans to purchase these homes. The next slide is something that I'm terribly proud of, because our homes come with refrigerators and stoves and dishwashers and microwaves, and it's all set for a person to move in, which helps some young families get a start, for sure. Most of the homes will have living space of about 1,200 to 1,600 square feet. We have to design our home sites to accommodate different size homes. It would be nice if we could just put a drawing down and mark them all off exactly the same size and all in an order, but it doesn't work too well that way. So we hope you understand how we're trying to develop this space. We would like the front doors to always be towards the street when possible, because that's more welcoming to guests. And we also want to have some good, easy access to our garages. We worked with Whitseth engineers to help develop a home site plan, and maybe, Michelle, you could pass that out to the counselors. They've been very good to work with, and this includes a design for the first phase of our project. The lots themselves range from 7,000 square feet to 10,700 square feet. So that does exceed the 5,000 square feet that is, I believe, in your ordinance. The buildings on the home site will meet your guidelines of not using more than 30% of the land mass of each home site. We have to work around trees and power boxes and easements for utilities. So it is going to require some flexibility, I guess, is my message. Your guidelines talked about 50 feet wide lots. Our smallest lot will be about 70 feet wide. Most of the 13 lots will be closer to 100 feet. So we will have space to actually set the home very carefully on the home site, provide the garage and a driveway so that everyone will have off-street parking. We may need to also look at some of the setbacks, the distance between the structures and the distance between the other neighbor's property. So I brought a couple examples on the next slide. This one shows some of the homes in our communities, and you will see that some of the garages are a little closer to the house than others. We can do this in two different ways. We can put some special fireboard in the garage, and it makes it safe under code. We also find that we need room to have nice porches and patios and good sidewalks. And so it's always good to be a way off the road, but not every home site allows us to be as far as another. On the next slide, you can see that we've had to work around trees. You can see in our one neighborhood and the fire hydrant, and then other things that you can note on this one is that some of the homes are actually, if you look on the first picture there, have the narrow part of the home facing the road, and others will have the long part of the home facing the road. So the we did pull your modified ordinance of 2021. It appears that you were very cautious about having mobile home community development in your community, and you might have had some bad experiences, but I hope you give us a chance to show you that you can also have some good experiences having a project like ours. We want to show you how we do conduct business, and so we provided some affordable housing for working families in Duluth, Sartell, St. Paul, and Grand Rapids, and that's where these pictures are from. And you can see everyone has their own chance to develop their home site the way they want to use it, but it is always nicely off the road and nicely cared for. So we will be requesting a permit to proceed with our remodel project. And of course, we'll work with Todd County for our licenses to operate. We've been in communication with Michelle. And then we will follow through to build a neighborhood that we think you will be very proud of to have here in the city of Staples. And we think it will be good workforce housing. And as we bring jobs to the community, you need a place for the workers to have decent, safe, sanitary, and affordable housing. So we welcome questions, and Michelle and I will try to respond to them. So do you have any questions about our redevelopment project?
Storm shelter, is there anything there?
That's a very good question. Michelle, in this size community, what are our options?
Yes, I think with a community this size, most communities have allowed for an emergency preparedness plan, which would explain to our residents exactly where they would need to go for safe shelter. And we would be happy to prepare that and make sure that everybody has received that at the time that they do the lease signing.
And we
Typical.
have, could you share with what kind of buildings we have used?
Yeah, quite often we've used, if there's a basement or a setting in a city building, perhaps you have that here with this building. Churches often become shelters, hospitals in their different hallways and areas, so those are pretty typical. And all of my communities that we have in Duluth and Sartell and in Grand Rapids, we have these emergency preparedness plans because, those communities are 500 home sites, 300 home sites, much larger. They do have a shelter, but with this size community, emergency preparedness plan should work just fine.
Yeah, and I think a lot of you are aware the community center has served as the storm shelter site for not only these parks, but the other two as well, so I can see that continuing.
Other things that we could share with you?
You mentioned that they'll own their home.
Yes.
So they'll purchase their home, and it'll be brought onto the premises then?
Right. Let's talk about that just a little bit. Michelle, when we bring a double-wide home onto a community, we have to have an engineered concrete slab.
Right, yeah, so I work with the engineer. We get a concrete foundation as part of the foundation system that home needs. We get that prepared, and certainly we put that on the home site. That slab is specific to that house. And then we like to enclose, usually quite often with decorative block skirting, something that would give it almost a basement look to it. We like to complete it and do turnkey sales, so we will do, the steps and decks and landscaping and sidewalks. Of course, and then we're also talking about doing detached garages with each home site. So not only will they have off-street, but they'll have that garage also on that home site. And then we sell it complete. Yep, lease the home site.
Manufactured off-site as well?
No, we'll have them built on-site. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have them built on-site.
Actually, we have found some wonderful subcontractors that have agreed to look at our projects so we can do these things locally, which is important to us.
So to kind of follow up on the previous question, is it your intent that they would buy, kind of a home of a pre-selected, number of options and work through you to get that on site? If I have a 1972 single wide, I can't bring it there?
No. And I
Good
think
answer.
it is quite nice too, we've kind of already selected a few that work well for the sites that we have. As you can see, we're trying to do some insets, some front sets. Diversity within a neighborhood is nice. So we'll probably look to control most of that and then, like I said, sell them turnkey on site. But we like to have diversity within the different products. We work with a couple of different manufacturers. We have 3 different manufacturers that we work with in the Wisconsin and Minnesota area. And we'll probably choose amongst those 3 manufacturers to be placed in the community. Yeah.
Are there covenants that keep people from, say, having 3 pickups jacked up in front of their garage and
Yes.
that type of thing?
We do, yeah. We would certainly have a lease, as we do with all of our other communities. It is a month-to-month lease, which is typical for manufactured home communities. But with that, we would also have guidelines. And those community guidelines they agree to, which, ensures that the community stays in good shape, that we don't have that kind of blight, that they maintain their yards, maintain their home site. So, and that's part of my job, and we'd certainly work with all the owners.
Yep.
And the price range that we hope to be in is somewhere between like 125 to 175,000. And the reason for that is that we're trying to think about workforce housing, and we know what it costs to take a loan and to do a down payment on a home. And it's, we want to keep it as affordable as possible.
This is great. Fabulous.
I'm excited to see it happen because there's, over the years, there's been lots of conversation about that property. So it was exciting to see the mobile homes leave there that have left and to see the ones that are temporarily, I don't think that's where they're going to be.
No,
And
they're
just-
sitting on roads.
Yeah, and so that people can at least go and see them and get an idea of what it's
Exactly.
going to be
Yeah,
available for them.
and we hope to have an open house with them so that the neighbors and everyone can come in and see them.
The separate, the garage portion of it, you mentioned you had some subcontractors for that, are those local contractors?
Yes, we're getting bids for them, and local concrete workers, we've had a couple of people come forward and say they would be interested in doing that work for us. We're looking for a landscaper, we haven't found that yet, so if you know anyone.
Don't look at me.
Okay, well, thank you very much for
Thank
this
you.
opportunity.
Great presentation.
That's gonna be great.
All right, we'll move on to item 5, which is to consider approving a conditional use permit to conduct a meat harvesting, processing, and butchery business in an industrial zone.
All right, Gary, are you able to hear us okay?
Yep, I can hear you now. Gerald, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm gonna turn you up a little.
Okay, all right, there might be a little delay, but, well, good evening, everybody. I guess it is evening there. I'm Gary Wordish, President of the Minnesota Farmers Union. And first of all, I want to apologize for not being able to be there tonight. Farmers Union, we belong to what's called the World Farmers Organization. It's an organization of family farms globally that around the world that members work on issues for family farmers, basically is what it is. And I'm in South Africa today, or this morning, I guess it is. We're having our General Assembly here, so I apologize for not being able to be there, but with technology, I guess I am able to zoom in. So thank you for allowing me to do that. Farmers Union, we've been around since 1902 nationally in Minnesota since 1918, I believe it is. And we're an organization, general farm organization that works in St. Paul and DC on a lot of legislation to help family farmers in really rural communities. That's our primary mission. We just got done at our legislative session in Minnesota now, and we were able to advance a lot of policies that actually help family farmers, and that is our primary mission. We got involved in this project, working with and basically it goes back to our county conventions. We're organized. We have county conventions in all the counties, and members get together and pass resolutions, and whatever passes the county comes to their state convention, and the members debate them at the state convention. What passes there becomes our policy that we work on. And it started a few years back, actually pre-COVID, that we needed to try and get meat cutting classes started again in Minnesota. We haven't had the last college that trained meat cutting workers. It was back in Pipestone, and it's been closed about 20 years already. So with that resolution passed and we started working on it, and we worked with Cheryl Hills out of the Region 5 development there, and we did apply for a federal EDA grant, and we were able to receive that. And the primary mission of the grant is to work to train workers, like I said earlier. And we're working very closely with the Staples, Central Lakes College and Staples in Ridgewater in Wilmer. Both colleges started have a meat cutting instructor and running programs through their both respective colleges. Along with that, so we'll be working at the colleges. And when we approached you, I believe it was about a year ago, we have what's called a mobile harvesting unit too, because we, to really do what we need to do, we need to train workers to be able to process the animals too, and not just rely on, because if we didn't do that, then we'd just be relying on help training workers that would get the meat from the large meat packers. And to really help the rural communities, we thought we really need to try and get more people trained to run a process or to start their own shops or take over shops. We've interviewed a lot of the meat lockers around the state, around 50 of them. We interviewed this within the last year, and there's a lot of them that want to expand, and there's some that want to retire, but there's a shortage of workers. So, we think this is really a strong program that we start training some workers to get into that workforce, and really as an opportunity for rural communities to not only if they have a plant to maybe keep it going, or maybe somebody that comes through the classes can actually start a new plant in a small community. So with that, when we approached you a year ago, it was for the land. We were planning on having the project mobile, and we weren't exactly sure where we were going to put the mobile harvesting unit. And but since then, the college at Wilmer, the Ridgewater College, has changed their curriculum. They went to an online version, and they have students some students from other states even attending their classes, and they have a few locally. But what they do, they work with their local communities, and they train their people in existing plants that are willing to work with them. So their model has changed, and I've had discussions with them, and they said, well, if you change that model, would it work if we would try and put our harvest trailer on our Staples location? And they said that's because I said that would make it more economical, feasible for us to run it, and because that way you have it one site and the farmers would deliver the animals to the site, but then you're able to hook up to city water and power. Electricity is really a big thing. By being able to hook up to city electricity, we can lower our costs, because if we just had a mobile unit somewhere sitting in the country, we'd have to completely bring water in and run our own alternator generator. So it'd be significantly more efficient to have it in one spot. And they said that would work out well with them, with their program. If there's some students in the area, they bring them to our facility. So that's basically why we're here approaching you tonight to expand the lot there. Right now, we got approval last year to put 3 modulars on the unit, 1 modular for cooling, 1 for cutting and wrapping, and 1 for a freezer. The intent here would be to put this mobile trailer unit, our harvest unit, put it alongside and hook everything together. And then our intent is to build a building around the mobile unit. So, and then with that, you would also have we just all went through the last winter, so we kind of know where Minnesota winters can get like, but we just think that's a more efficient model that way too, by having it inside of a building, and we can control our weather a little better. And then also we'd have a building within that building. We'll build a building for the animals to be inside too, because you really want the animals there too. You got to treat them humanely. You got to have a good, safe place for them. But see, the animals will be delivered, go inside, and then they'd be processed. The intent is, and a lot of that would be worked about. The intent would be to have the animals brought in later afternoon, early evening, so they'd be rested, and then the following morning would be processed. And that would help. It's better. You get better quality meat if you're able to do it that way. And then when your workers come to work in the morning, they have animals there, and in case a farmer has trouble getting loaded or is bringing with it, has a flat tire and something can't get there, that disrupts your whole schedule. So with that, that's kind of our plan. And I can tell you a little bit more about Farmers Union. I should have said that at the beginning. Farmers Union, we're part owners of Farmers Union Industries. In the Farmers Union Industries, we have 6 operating divisions, and we have one located near you. The Central Byproducts rendering plant in Long Prairie is one of them, one of our operating divisions. We have three rendering plants, one in Long Prairie, one in Redwood Falls, and one in Emmitsburg, Iowa. And then we have a pet food plant in Mitchell, South Dakota. We have a Northland Choice is a plant in Wade Park, right next to St. Cloud, where we get product from the meat products from like Genio, and primarily in the chicken plant forgetting it down. But anyway, primarily chicken and the poultry goes to those 2 plants. It's the product product that's not good enough to go for human consumption, but it's too good to go into rendering. So we get that product and we prepare that for pet food. We sell to not only our own plant in Mitchell, but also to the like Nestle is in Mars, the large pet food manufacturers. We do sell product to them. We have another division in Redwood Falls, Artex, which is a large manufacturing company that we make primarily. The biggest product we make is manure spreaders that we sell to farmers. We make, they're primarily larger ones, but we do make a smaller one now too. And then we do some build some trailers, work on trailers for our own plants that need trailers to haul the offal back and forth from the large plants. And then we also have a Midwest Grease, which is a grease pickup company that we go around Minnesota and some in North and South Dakota and some in Wisconsin. We pick up recycled grease from restaurants, and then we turn that back into primarily animal feed that goes back into animals. So we've got a long history. Our corporate office of Farmers Union Industries is in Redwood Falls. Through all of our companies, we have over 400 employees, and we had in the last year in 2022, we had over 600 million in sales. So we're a significant company, and been around the industry's parts, been around 92 or 93 years now, our rendering plant, and we're used to running the business. We also we do have a pork plant in Estherville, Iowa, to a smaller pork plant. So with that, I can't see who is with me, but I do have a few people with me, and I know I can. I'll turn it over to you, Gerald, maybe to bring them up because I'm not exactly sure. We're not seeing them, but I know we have Carol Anderson, our exec committee.
I'll spin you around here.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Sorry,
we got
about
everybody
that, Gary.
there. Yep.
So,
the only one that wasn't able to come was Dave Endicott, the dean of the Central Lakes College. He's retiring from the college, and he's going to start working for us on June 1st for Farmers Union. And the primary mission of him, he's going to help with membership and help the organization. But I really want him to have a person on the ground. He's from the community, local, and understands the community to really help this project get off the ground. And we're looking forward to being good members of the community and working with you all. So I guess with that, I can turn it over to maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure. It's kind of hard. I can't read the room, so I'm not sure exactly how to. Carol Anderson is our board chair. Nate is from Whitset Engineering, which we've been working with. He's got some plans designed to show you if you want. And Tom Beesman, works out of the for Central Byproducts out of the Long Prairie plant, so he's very familiar with this industry. And so with that, I guess open it up for questions, and I'll probably maybe have, I don't know. Gerald, who do you think you want to bring up? I guess.
I'll tell you what, Gary, I'll take it from here. So we'll kind of, to get back to where we're at as far as the actual agenda item. You probably all recall last fall, I think it was probably October, November-ish, when the initial conditional use permit for Farmers Union was done. There were conditions that were placed on that at that time. And then Farmers Union reapproached us here a couple of months ago because of the change in their operational plans, bringing the harvest on site. So 2 months ago, or I guess a month and a half ago, the group came to Planning and Zoning for the initial meeting. At that point, Planning and Zoning scheduled the public hearing, which took place last Tuesday. And in the back of your packets is the minutes from that. The recommendation from Planning and Zoning is to approve the conditional use permit with the 7 conditions that are listed in those minutes. And I'll just read those off so that you don't have to scroll all the way down. But and the reason for the conditional use permit, this is a general industry zone, and the slaughter, butcher, that type of operation is allowed with a conditional use permit in that zone. So it does require the conditional use permit, which is why we're here. So hours of operation for the business shall be 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, with the exception of emergencies. Hours for livestock drop-off shall be Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., with product pickup on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., again, with exceptions for emergencies. Screening from residential property if sound or noise becomes an issue. A limit of 15 animals per day being processed. No outdoor pens or fencing. You know, as Gary indicated, all of that's inside an enclosed building. Trimmings and any offal, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but shall be stored in a refrigerated enclosure and removed from the site in a timely fashion. And then lastly, all city ordinances, state, federal, and USDA regulations shall be complied with. And it was unanimous vote with one abstention to recommend the council approve the conditional use permit. So that basically is the action item ahead of you. I don't know if the council members have any questions, but again, we have other folks in the room that I think can answer anything, you know, related to site plan and operation type of questions.
Daryl, you and I had a discussion like a day or two after their planning and zoning meeting. And you know, all of this, mainly with the slaughter, was turned into a kind of a question whether or not, you know, I mean, it was a back and forth and whatever. But anyway, I talked to you a little bit about logging in with the delivery of the animals. I don't know, maybe that's appropriate anyway, maybe that gets done. But in event that there is any, it was controversial, I'd say a little bit, you know. In event that there is any issues and for the protection of the meat processing plant and to pacify any people that have questions or accusations on the number of animals that are being brought there or whatever, I thought, well, maybe a logging in process would be something, a record that was kept.
Talking, you know, verification of the number of
Correct.
animal units.
Correct.
That has to be done.
And then, you know, in an event of a complaint or whatever might occur, and it goes both ways, I guess, for the city and for your business. It would be beneficial. Is that something that our city representative would have access to? And so if that was one of the conditions or part of it would be.
Yes, so I'll tell you these are
That'd be-
byproducts. And yes, all your locker plants are required to keep records of every animal that is processed for
Sure.
traceability purposes, anything like that. And especially if it's going to be state inspected, federally inspected to go back. I mean, your paper trail is amazing as far as going back to if there would be ever a complaint on the finished product.
Yeah.
So
And
all that would be logged.
I assumed that, but I just, you know, there's a lot of discussion and I want to make sure that both parties are covered so that we can end anything that might come up or arise, and that's where I'm at. So is that something that we should be noted in the conditions, or is that something?
I think we can note, you know, put in there that we would have access to it if we request it.
Okay.
You know, I don't necessarily want to, you know, be
Right.
in there every morning at 8.
Oh, exactly, and that's not the intent. That's not the intent, but
That's perfectly understandable, and we certainly agree to that, so.
sure, okay,
Just put it in there so that we've got a record of it.
perfect. Thank you.
So any other questions at all on any of the recommended conditions, operations, site plan? We included the whole packet that was presented to planning and zoning and walked through. But if you do have questions, now is the time to ask them. While we have the experts to answer.
I entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Doug.
I'm assuming with the conditions as outlined or recommended by planning and zoning?
With the additional, right?
Right, with the opportunity to verify.
Yep.
Okay. Motion as stated. Any further discussion? Forever hold your peace. Hearing none. All those in favor verify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Good. I want to thank you guys for, kind of running the gauntlet to a certain degree, and look forward to your operation getting up and running here in Staples, so.
Well, we want to thank you for being so understanding and accommodating. I mean, that means a lot to us. And by the way, I live in Benton County. I chaired the Benton County Planning Commission for 7 years, dealt with the Ives family, and they have a park there. We've never had any problem with them. They're good people, okay?
Thank you.
I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I should say something.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Gerald, I want to jump in again before I try and go to bed. I just want to, I apologize again for not being able to be there tonight. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be that, but, I had prior commitments of representing us at, the world in South Africa. So, but I'm looking forward to meeting the city council and really being, meeting your members and being, Farmers Union, being part of the community. Looking very forward to. Been very impressed with the community so far. What we've done, and Gerald and Melissa have been really professional, and just really want to thank you all for your vote tonight. And like I said, we'll be looking forward to meeting you and working with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, we'll move on to item number 6. Consider approving conditional use permit to expand an existing non-conforming use.
So again, planning and zoning item, the full packet is in, that we had at planning and zoning is in your packet here tonight. But Brian Reese Plumbing and Heating, this has to do with the property, the old Aden contracting property that Brian purchased up on 3rd Street and, is that Garden? I believe 3rd Street and Garden Avenue. And because that was rezoned to residential, or maybe it was always residential, to expand that non-conforming structure required a conditional use permit. He submitted that. He wants to basically do a lean-to type enclosed addition on the south side of that big shed. He removed the old small building that was up there already, and recommendation from planning and zoning was to approve the conditional use permit to expand the existing non-conforming use with the following conditions. One, that it be fully enclosed, which is what he's proposing. But I think the P&Z didn't want to have an open lean-to with a bunch of stuff piled in there. And then if there's any outdoor storage, that screening would be required from adjacent residential properties. So their recommendation again was to have the council approve that conditional use permit with those 2 conditions.
I'll move that conditional use permit.
Second.
Motion by Mary, second by Blake. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to number 7, consider approving purchase of 3 electronic roster poll pads.
You want to take this one? So anyway, there's material in the packet on this, but the Apple poll pads that we use for the elections, the primaries and the general election are not going to be supported anymore by Apple. So the county communicated with us that we need to participate with them to get new ones. So $437.50 per unit, and we need 3 of them.
You only need 3?
That's what we currently have.
That's what you have now?
For the Todd County side.
Oh. We don't have to worry about money now.
They haven't sent me anything yet.
Yeah. Todd County is ahead of the game here. So,
I just asking,
yeah.
because on a big, you got a long line.
Yeah, so our recommendation is to move forward with it, so we have the appropriate technology for the election.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Roy, second by John. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on, number 8, consider approval of resolution 1906, accepting donations for the bike rodeo.
Copy of the resolution is in your packet. And we had, a couple weeks ago, we had another one. We've had great support for the bike rodeo. This one is Lions Club and Rotary Club, both at $500 apiece.
How will the acceptance of those donations for the bike rodeo?
Second.
Motion by Mary, second by John. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried.
It's great that the community and the organization supported it.
Yeah, and if you haven't ever come to that, it's worth bringing a chair and just watching the show.
How many kids would you say, if you're gonna guess?
127.
Nice.
Guessing, right?
No, I don't.
I figured she would know exactly. Awesome. All right.
And, so obviously there's all the organizations and individuals that donated money. Lakewood does the bike helmets for all the kids, and a lot of the donations go towards, purchase of prizes. And how many bikes were given away?
10.
10 different bikes of different, of different sizes for different age groups. So that's fun.
Awesome. We'll move on to number 9, I think it looks like. Consider approval of resolution 1907, authorizing participation with the Community Concern for Youth program with Todd Wadena Community Corrections.
So in your packet, we have a letter from Kathy Langer, who's the Director of Community Corrections, and they are generally the first ones out of the gate with getting a budget request in for the following year. They obviously have to put their budget together too, but it's been a good program. You see on the second page of the CCY material. Basically, in 2023, we contributed $4,090. The 2024 request is for $4,213. And then the school district also contributes towards it for the staple share. And there is a resolution in the packet indicating that.
I'll move resolution 1907.
Second.
Motion by Roy, second by Mary. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to number 10. Consider approval of resolution 1908, approving the 2023-2024 liquor licenses.
So a couple weeks ago, we had a laundry list. We've got 2 additional renewals in here, Boxcar and Costa Azul, for both off-sale and Sunday on-sale liquor licenses. That's for the July 1 renewal.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Doug, second by Blake. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Move on to number 11, review the preliminary plat concept for Valley View Neighborhood Outlot A.
So I threw it up on the big screen. Planning and zoning has looked at this several times. We've talked about it at EDA and I think, a little bit with the city council, but I don't know, can everybody see my cursor okay? I can go up and point at stuff too, but so basically what we're proposing to do is take these duplex lots that are surrounding Vogelin Court on the south and east side, basically the back lot to what I'll call the single-family lots, and replat those to single-family lots. They're, the way that was originally platted, they're kind of crammed in there. We've had a lot of feedback, people just, they're too tight. So we propose to replat those. We would sacrifice a couple of sets of service lines in there, but we would get some nice single-family lots on that cul-de-sac. So last year we bought Outlot A, 20-some acres from Wayne Hagelin. I don't know, we probably had 5 or 6 different variations of what the lot layout could be up there. But this is ultimately what we arrived at. We peeled lot 15 out of here for potential future sewer going over to the 60 acres that the city owns on the other side of the swamp. Gave us a little bit of flexibility there. And but anyway, just wanted to bring it to the council, not necessarily looking for any kind of action, get feedback. And the platting process is one that's going to take it back through planning and zoning and ultimately to the council, approval of a preliminary plat and then ultimately final plat. So I wanted to share it with the council and get your feedback before we officially kick off that process.
Once that whole process is approved, then those are open for sale and putting homes on them.
Well, ultimately we'd have to get sewer and water in the street built up in there. With the exception of these two, well, 1, 2, and 10, I think have stubs from the original, but they weren't platted. But at that time, so. Right, yeah. So these in here would be ready to go, and then these 3 down here.
Once it gets platted.
As soon as it's platted, yeah.
So that will open up some places there for
Yep.
people to be able to look at for options.
Yep.
When do you anticipate the sewer and water would go up that loop?
I don't know. A lot of it's going to depend on what the demand is.
Right.
How fast these other ones,
Right.
Once the platting process is done, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 additional lots.
Right.
Plus we have lot 21 and 22 still available. We sold 19 and so we'll have 10 additional ones, how many is that 1-year inventory? That'd be a great problem.
Yeah, right.
If we sold those and had development up there that quick. I think a lot of it depends on what happens with the economy and interest rates and all that type of stuff. So I don't, the Wadena County ARPA money that they allocated towards the city of Staples, our proposal was to use those dollars for the platting process to cover the cost of that, then also to do the preliminary design and engineering, and we're going to take that back to them as our number 1 project coming up here in June. But you get everything figured out, and then if there's funding opportunities that we can jump on, get some help with it. All that stuff's expensive.
Awesome. All right, any other thoughts or comments on that? Now we'll move on to number 12. Consider approval of Resolution 1909, authorization to execute Minnesota Department of Transportation Airport Maintenance and Operation Grant Contract.
So every 2 years, MnDOT Aeronautics, sends out a grant agreement, and basically what, we get in the neighborhood of I don't remember what it was, $24,000 a year, they reimburse our costs out at the airport on a 75-25 basis, snow removal, mowing, some simple maintenance type items around there. So I recommend that council approve the contract with them.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Blake. Any discussion in regards to this? All right, hearing no discussion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Looks like that brings us to committee reports, and we'll start with Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
So Parks and Board met on May 9th. We went over the preliminary numbers for the HVAC and boiler equipment that came back much higher than they anticipated. We went over the upcoming events of May for the all the events that would be happening at the community center and in the parks. We finally had a park cleanup day on May 11th. It was nice enough. It was a great day for park cleanup. The campground opened May 12th. Arbor Day we celebrated on May 15th. Mrs. Pratt and her FFA students had agreed to plant flowers in the planters uptown. I think they did that today, so they look nice, yeah. So, and we discussed putting a porta potty out at Dower at the end of the pier again, and then we adjourned at 5:32.
Any questions? Thanks, Lacey. Move on to Parks and Zoning Commission.
Well, we pretty much covered everything that was on the planning and zoning agenda already, but, again, Farmers Union, conditional use permit, public hearing, and also the Reese Plumbing and Heating, conditional use permit. And that pretty much took us right to the end of it. So happy to answer any questions on that, though, if there's anything.
Questions? All right, we'll move on to open forum. Anybody out there have anything for open forum? Any of the council members have anything for open forum?
I do.
Okay.
Are we any closer to getting the street sweeper fixed?
I think it is.
I think it's running,
Is it?
last time I saw.
I haven't seen it out yet.
No. A lot of,
It was. I mean, after we
I
had
haven't
talked
seen
about it
it.
last time.
haven't seen it. I was cleaning the edge of the sidewalks the other day, and there's a lot of debris in the gutters, and I don't know how much it takes to plug up a storm drain, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and then, we had a busted hydraulic hose on it, but I know it was running after that, so I haven't heard.
I saw it once,
That's
and that
not-
was all I've seen after.
Yeah, well,
I saw it, I want to say I saw it Friday.
It was on our hill on Fourth Avenue.
yeah. No, I just hadn't seen it around over on the south side, I guess, over where John and I live.
Always the north side, south side. That built you an overpass. I'll find out in the morning, but as far as I know, the thing's out running.
Okay. And then the other thing is grass nuisances probably should start. Maybe it's getting pretty tall around, I don't know, might get a jump on it.
Yeah, well, right now we'd be citing ourselves too.
That's what I was gonna mention.
Well, maybe they're doing the normal.
No more May, the pollinators.
Yeah, well, then I guess I mowed in the wrong,
Yes.
I wouldn't have been able to get across my yard or breathe.
Yeah, the bees and butterflies don't like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll get on it.
Okay,
Overall, Gerald, did they get a lot of cleanup done? Because I seen you guys out a lot.
Yeah.
Did they
Yeah,
get the
and-
ones that they were heading to get?
What was that?
Did they get the ones that they were aiming for to do?
Yeah, we only had 10.
Well, there was, I mean, I don't know how many different properties SMBP and the volunteers.
We did 9 different properties. We didn't get through everything. Some of them were, there was stuff that was hazardous that we just weren't willing to take.
Sure.
And so we are gonna kind of change our application without knowing, you know, some of those types of things that would be sent along, so. But otherwise, you know, we did get a lot of stuff. I don't have the exact poundage yet. I'll have that probably at the next meeting. Because basically SMBP pays for all of it for the most part. That's, well, at least all of these ones, as they apply for it. And then we get a tally of what we paid for, and then I can actually present how many couches, how many beds that were taken away, or how many pounds of trash that were taken away that likely wouldn't have made it down there if there wasn't for that assistance. So I can get you that information, I just don't have the tally
I was
yet.
just curious because I never seen, well, we waited an hour and a half in line, and I have never seen so much trash, household trash as I did this time.
Yeah,
That's wait.
yeah.
It was bad, yeah.
Did you have to wait that long the second time you were there, or did
That was with Katie and them. No, they were back in like a half an hour.
Yeah, because that was an hour and a half, too.
Right, I think at the beginning, I understand, you know, it was very front-loaded, then
Holy
after 6 o'clock, it sounded like it was, you know, kind of petering out a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Might need 2 trucks next time.
yeah.
It amazes me how much those trucks hold. They did trailer after trailer after trailer in that one truck. I thought, wow.
Well, the one year when the mattresses were going, mattresses and box springs, they used to try and get them up into the truck, and oh my gosh, the delay was something, because they'd lay a mattress on top of that dumpster and then try and lift it up, and, you know, it's bouncing off the cab onto the ground, but the number of mattresses and couches and box springs that went into one truck, I was just amazed by it. You know, you would think as soon as the Ram released, those mattresses would just spring right back out. But,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
the
is
guys did a good job.
a great thing for the community, but there's always way more places that could be.
Right.
was that house on Sixth Street, was that part of it up on the north end there before Michigan? On the west side of Sixth Street? I see there's a big dumpster in the driveway there now. There was a lot of cars and junk in the yard. I mean, it was bad.
is that next to where Kev Grendel used to live, south of
Correct.
that?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know what,
Well, it's getting
you know,
cleaned up.
as far as the cleanup, but he's been, that guy's been zapped a couple of times
Yeah,
this
that
year
thing's
already.
bad.
Nuisance stuff.
I went by there today and it's
Yeah.
quite an improvement.
Well, and I know that, you know, the 19th was the day on the nuisance notices that the officers, you know, spread around town. So now they'll be following up on those and making sure that stuff's cleaned up, so.
The other thing on that 212 on Wisconsin Avenue, that 212 Wisconsin Southeast, is that ours now, or are we getting there, or?
202 is ours.
Wasn't that white one next to the burned out one is the one we got, but I thought,
Right, and we're working on 212.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
still in the process.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to own 212 right away, but I do want to tear it down. I'll be happy to discuss the
The
strategy.
fixer upper, I think.
Well,
There's a method to my
informed
madness.
today by someone that there's an air conditioner back in the window, so this person said there must be somebody living in there.
In where?
In 212.
No, there's no electricity there, so.
Yeah, so I don't know how to put an air conditioner.
That doesn't stop people, you
all the
know,
air
that's across the
conditioners
street.
they want. Yeah, so.
Thanks.
All right, we'll move on to city administrator's report.
Long list tonight. So, as everybody is probably aware, the legislative session ended. And I think probably for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, we'll be learning what was in it, in all the bills. But here's what we know so far. A year ago, Juneteenth was adopted as a state holiday to match the federal holiday. They had an August 1st, 2023 effective date on that, which would have meant June 19th, 2024 would have been the first time that was observed. Somebody put in an omnibus bill to make it effective this year. So we found out today that June 19th of this year is a holiday that the city of Staples will have to observe. So I think there's going to be, cities and schools that probably have things like public hearings and different things like that set for that day. We don't, fortunately, but that may create a few headaches for people. The other thing I learned today is a lot of state and county highway construction type work. Their contracts have language in there that work cannot be conducted on holidays. So when they let those contracts, that wasn't a factor, but now it will be. But just to make you aware, if you come up to City Hall and there's a sign on the door, that's where we're at. LGA, there was an LGA increase. I haven't seen the exact dollar amount, but it looks like it's in the vicinity of around $190,000 for the city of Staples. So that's good news. The coalition has been beating that drum hard for years and years and years. It's my understanding there is not an inflation, automatic inflationary adjustment in that number, but it certainly will be a benefit. There is, in the public safety package, there's money for public safety, police, fire, emergency responders, that type of thing. About $129,000. We don't know yet if that's one-time money or annual, or exactly what we can use it for. There's more information on what you couldn't use it for than what you could in what we saw. So, the paid family and medical leave, no idea what impact that will have on the city of Staples. The cannabis stuff, obviously there's going to be, things that we're going to need to do related to that. Well, that's kind of the major things off the top of my head here tonight, but there'll be more to come, I promise. So.
There was isn't there some money gonna go towards infrastructure like lead pipes and stuff?
Well, yeah, and I don't know exactly who that will flow through, right. But they did do a bonding bill, an infrastructure bill. Oh golly, what was it? Almost $2.5 billion, 2.3 billion, something like that. So pretty big, but they also haven't done one for for a number of years. So what all is in that? I don't know exactly. I know that I did see that the Business Development Public Infrastructure Grant Program got funded at a fairly healthy level. That's something that we've tapped into before for utility extension and so forth out in the industrial park. So, I would guess by our next meeting, which will be 3 weeks from now, we'll have a lot better idea and run through some of the stuff that we'll be dealing with.
Did our legislature work on broadband, or was that federal?
There is broadband provisions in the infrastructure bill, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
There's something out there, and Gerald just showed it to me today that actually did pass, but exactly how it lays out, I'm not sure. But some spending for, new housing development infrastructure, so updating, hopefully, it's not a super high amount, but something like a value development to help offset the cost of what we would assess back to each of those pieces of land. Hopefully we can utilize one of those types of programs. It's something that has been from economic developers in Edom. We've been on the legislature about trying to get a program for that because it's just gotten so expensive.
So they created a program, I think they only funded it at $5 million statewide, which when you're putting sewer and water in, it's not gonna go very far, but it's a start. You know, BDPI started really small too. So, just a note here, Staples Motley Beyond Poverty and the other volunteers that they were able to round up for citywide cleanup, thank you. You know, some of that, as you heard earlier, was not a pleasant experience, but helps get things cleaned up. Rotary Club did NP Park cleanup, which is always nice to get that done way ahead of Music in the Park starting. So I want to thank the volunteers that did that. Scott and I did meet with Todd County Highway Department and Bolton and Mink just to go over some preliminary design stuff on the 4th Street project. I think everybody's aware of the 4th Street, the South Side, 2nd Street, you know, all of those projects are in for funding consideration with the infrastructure bill and some of the lead service line type stuff. You know, hopefully we'll get good news back on that and make those projects a little less costly. Attended the groundbreaking up at the elementary school last week. Things were calm until all of the elementary kids came out to participate. But that was fun. It'll be nice for them to actually have a standalone gymnasium up there. It's been long overdue. Bike rodeo, again, like we said before, lots of fun, even if you don't have little kids that need a tune-up on their bike. You come and help try and figure out how to adjust the straps on a bike helmet. So, did receive the plans, full set of plans today for the Ascension Clinic project, and I'm assuming a building permit application is going to follow that shortly, so I think they'll be relatively soon here getting all of that going. And then 202 Wisconsin came up earlier, but tomorrow the asbestos inspection, and depending on what they find, abatement, and then we'll get that torn down and hopefully work our way east from there. So, that's all I have unless there's questions.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
You took them 6th Street and they Lakewood took those houses.
Yeah, well, I didn't know they had done it. I was driving along and I looked, took it to a second.
Huge. I mean, it looks